All right, well, Brad Erlich, Nando, Vila, Cenk, Uygur. Okay, by the way, lots of fun folks on the program today and lots of fun topics. So I've got exciting updates on the rally coming up for you guys in Iowa. Oh my God, TYT Army, geez, Lord mercy. Okay, and then Jordan Klepper is going to be on in the second hour along with Brooke Thomas. Ooh. He's got a new show coming out in Comedy Central, so he's going to do the whole second hour with us and then come back and do an interview as well. I've got a conservative who's in favor of impeachment, also doing an interview in the third hour. I've got one of the best legal reporters in the country, also in favor of impeachment, doing an interview in the third hour of the Young Turks. As you all know, it's 6 to 9 p.m. But hey, if you're a member, you can get it whenever you like. TYT.com/trial, try it out for free for a week. Okay, and what else do we? Oh, we have freedom molecules on today's show. The Republicans with a new goofy name, freedom molecules. What are they molecules of? That's such a great story, okay? That's what that is. Okay, so.
Freon, Irvinite, like, is that how they're spelling out the molecule? We'll get to that.
Okay, and we broke a story. I knew there was one other awesome, like there's a lot of great stories today as usual, but it's about Buttigieg. We're gonna stay on that beat, and unfortunately, it's another racial discrimination story. Another story where Buttigieg wasn't exactly forthcoming with reality. So, and the press's reaction to the stories we're breaking is a fascinating disparity. Let's put it that way. Okay, so we will get to that a little bit later in the program. Okay, so let's do it. Let's do it. What do you got, Brett?
Awesome. All right, here goes. So in the span of about a half an hour, the president inadvertently admitted that Russia helped him to win the election and then went out and said that no, that wasn't the case. We're gonna show you the tweet. We're gonna show you the video of him saying that that wasn't his tweet essentially. And then we're gonna open up some other people chiming in on the idea of impeachment in the wake of it. And some other weird moments from that insane impromptu press conference where you can barely hear him over the hum of his helicopter. But first, here's the tweet.
And ego.
And ego. That's the sound of his ego.
Yeah.
Anyways, so here's the tweet. Russia, 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 which.
Marsha.
No, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Total child.
Russia, Russia, Russia. That's all you heard the beginnings of this witch. That's all you heard at the beginning of this witch hunt hoax. And now Russia has disappeared because I had nothing to do with Russia helping me to get elected. It was a crime that didn't exist, so now the Dems and their partner, the fake news media, ... you fill in the blank. But that part people are talking about is he said, I had nothing to do with Russia helping me to get elected.
Oops.
When you saw that, what did you think?
I thought, that's an interesting confession. Now remember, Mueller at the end of his press conference said, remember, every American should take seriously the threat of Russia interfering in elections, and they did. Okay, so that's was the very end of his press conference. Like, we're not playing around. This is a really serious issue. And so Trump all throughout had said, I don't know what you're talking about. All of our intelligence officials are wrong. Vladimir Putin, I talked to him and he told me that they didn't interfere in our elections. So I'm done with it. So now he accidentally admits, yes, they did interfere in our elections. And yes, they did help me to get elected. Oops. So that's obviously gonna create an issue for him. Look, inside that, so that's the main thing we're gonna talk about. But inside that half a tweet, basically, it was buried so much madness that we're used to. Imagine if Obama had started a tweet with Russia, Russia, Russia. What? What are you doing, right?
I just heard the movie trailer voice guy go, it was a crime that didn't exist.
Let alone like a grown man talking about it's a witch hunt hoax, right? Yeah. And let alone him saying in the middle in a very George W. Bush kind of way, now Russia has disappeared. I'm pretty sure it's still there. Both the country and the case, because Mueller just told you it's super important and they still might be interfering in our elections. So, but any other politician, like, so what do you mean Russia disappeared? But that is a footnote to him actually finally confessing that the Russians did help him win the election.
Right, he's cherry picking that. He's so excited that there was that Mueller spoke and Mueller said, I'm retiring now, that he was like, it's over, let's go, that he forgot all of his other cover up framing and nestled in this. But 20 minutes later, after he tweeted that, he went out onto the lawn and was faced with some reporters who asked him stuff like this. Take a look.
Do you believe that Russia helped you get elected?
No, Russia did not help me get elected. You know who got me elected? You know who got me elected? I got me elected. Russia didn't help me at all. Russia, if anything, I think helped the other side. What you ought to ask is this. Do you think the media helped Hillary Clinton get elected? She didn't make it. But you take a look at collusion between Hillary Clinton and the media.
Right, that just like that moment, he's just saying words that come to his mind, and he's saying that Russia helped the other side get elected.
How?
Then he realizes that that doesn't make any sense. So he's like, who did help Hillary get elected? Oh, the media. Then he realizes that Hillary did not, in fact, get elected. So then he has to change that part of the weird moment.
You gotta admire. You just gotta plow through it. You know, like these days, you're rewarded for just plowing through anything. It doesn't matter. Just say I didn't say it, you know, or I didn't do it, and then like everything happens so fast that you know you're pretty much rewarded for, you know, essentially tweeting through it.
Yeah. So look, if he had any sense of strategy or a plan, you know, he could have stuck with that talking point about how the media was trying to help Hillary Clinton win. That actually would have had some legs to it, because we all know that the great majority of the anchors on television were Hillary Clinton voters. Let's just keep it real. They didn't vote for Trump. They didn't vote for Bernie Sanders. They almost, you know, I don't know what the percentage is, but it's a really high percentage that probably voted for Hillary Clinton. And that would be an interesting point, but he can't help himself. He doesn't, there is no strategy. He can't stick to any talking point. He's just all over the place, just like these guys said. And then the reporter did a good job. They were trying to ask him a very logical question. If he had allowed a follow-up, what would have been great is, so do you want to condemn the heinous person that tweeted this morning that Russia did help you win the election? Because there's actually some percentage chance he'd be like, that's right, whoever did that is part of the witch hunt and is a terrible person and a total liar and part of fake news. Sir, that was you. That's just what I said.
There were more weird moments in that interview, I guess, like series of interviews outside. And The Hill did a good kind of summary of all the madness, saying Trump was focused on bashing Mueller, which is he also did, and claiming vindication, telling reporters on Thursday that the special counsel was, quote, conflicted and should never have been chosen for the job, while attacking the probe as, quote, a giant presidential harassment. And he said, yeah, go ahead, Nando.
Oh, no. I've just noticed that the reporter was Jordan Fabian. I used to work with him. Good guy.
There you go. The president also claimed that he has, quote, presidential powers that you wouldn't believe that would shield him from any obstruction of justice charge.
Mueller just explained it. What do you mean that you wouldn't believe? Mueller went in a press conference and said the Department of Justice cannot indict a sitting president. I saw a cartoon where they have Trump sitting and they're like, sir, you got to get up to go to the next meeting. He's like, no, he won't indict a sitting president. They're like, oh no. Right. By the way, percentage chance of that being true. Right? But anyway, no, Mueller just told you, yeah, you're incredibly lucky. We can't indict a sitting president. At least that's Mueller's opinion. There is a path to actually holding you accountable. That's of course impeachment. But he's like, you wouldn't believe the incredible powers I have. The guy you just said is like the worst guy on the planet explained those powers a minute ago.
So it's interesting because the way that Mueller, at least when I listened to it, framed everything, he said it wasn't necessarily that the Justice Department can't indict a sitting president. It's just that when he was appointed, the thing the Justice Department wrote down, so you have Jeff Sessions, who Trump thinks bungled the whole thing, but to his credit, he did write, like, you can't, in the guidelines for when he and Rosenstein came together and said, or he recused himself, Rosenstein wrote it down, the guidelines said you cannot indict a sitting president. So for all of this conversation that impeachment itself is a political process and not a criminal one, in this setting up of the special counsel's office, that was a political move where it did shackle Mueller to this framework where he couldn't indict a sitting president.
And now, ironic, since they have no attachment to the truth, then Attorney General Barr, who's been protecting Trump all throughout, comes out today and says, well, if Mueller wanted to take action, he should have said that it was a crime.
No.
But wait a minute, you guys told him he couldn't say that. Then you turn around and go, he didn't say that. So it's unreal, the level of duplicity and hypocrisy and and the lies that they spread in this administration. But unfortunately, I got to bring it up every time. It's aided and abetted by the Democrats. Mueller from day one said, and he made it clear, I thought clear enough, that he couldn't indict a sitting president. So then what was he doing? He was collecting evidence for the only people who could take action against the president, Congress. What would that action be? Impeachment. That is the only possible avenue. He was collecting evidence for impeachment. There is no other way of explaining it. And so I bet he was probably surprised when the Democrats are like, oh, you got him on a crime, and he committed that crime 11 times, and you laid it out in a 448-page report, so we're not going to do anything. He must have been like, what? What the hell was I doing all this for?
Why do you think the Democrats aren't pursuing impeachment? It's so baffling to me. It seems like a no-brainer to me.
Well, to me, I think it's that the analysis I've seen and that I believe is that Nancy Pelosi is like, last time impeachment happened, we won in the long run, and the Republicans lost out. That's her takeaway, is that it's such like a politically costly process.
I remember Bush won that election. Sort of.
Yeah.
Bush won what, the follow-up election?
Yeah. So they impeached Bill Clinton. They're like, and that's why a Democratic president won the next. Oh wait, no, Bush won the next election.
But I just in the process, Bill Clinton was a very popular president. It did not hurt his popularity. And that's what I believe to be Nancy Pelosi's read of the land. And so she's gun shy in that respect. And she has to have small wins along the way because everyone else is looking out and saying like, the time's running out. You have to hurry up. So she gets a judge in New York to say, you know what, go look at his financial records. His challenge to the subpoena is BS. And then she claims a victory. She goes and has a meeting on Infrastructure Week. She claims a victory, and that just adds a little more time to the fuse. But that's my read of her analysis.
I guess the counterpoint would be, first of all, that was 20 years ago. So, and politics has changed dramatically since then. Like Trump is freaking president. Like you know what I mean? Like it's different than Bill Clinton being president. It just is.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, Clinton was incredibly popular, and Donald Trump was incredibly unpopular.
But to be fair, like the impeachment of Bill Clinton did kind of thwart a lot of his agenda at the time. He was popular in the polls, but like some of the stuff that he was trying to do, like i.e. privatizing Social Security, was basically thwarted by the impeachment process because it just consumes the administration. That's the argument I would say, is that if we believe that Trump is a harmful force in power, which I think we all do, anything that sort of thwarts his agenda, anything that thwarts a possible war with Iran or whatever, just consumes like everything, all their attention and energy, which is limited. I would say is probably for the best.
Would it thwart a possible war with Iran, or would it encourage heightened tensions to distract?
So listen, guys, I've weighed in on this 100 times, so I'm going to keep it really short here. Look, when you get into these political calculations, number one, I don't think we should. The question is, are you going to enforce the law, or are you not going to enforce the law? Because then the question that I would pose back to Nancy Pelosi is, what other crimes would you let Trump get away with? Because you're saying, I'm not going to do anything about the campaign finance violations. His co-conspirator is currently in prison. And there's no question that he did campaign finance violations. There's no question it's a felony, and there's no question that his co-conspirators are in prison. Okay, and then obstruction of justice, 11 instances of it, super clear. So if you're gonna let him get away with at least those two crimes, what other crimes are you gonna let him get away with?
Letting Puerto Ricans die in the wake of Hurricane Maria is an absolutely impeachable offense.
So look, and then you can get into, so like some people might say that's policy, and then you get into some things. But look, if you say those two felonies that we've got on the record without any dispute at all are okay, then what other felonies? Can he actually shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and get away with it?
He probably could.
And it's not the MAGA case. It would be Nancy Pelosi, who says, yeah, you can shoot someone on Fifth Avenue. And if I think it is to my political benefit to let you get away with it, I will let you get away with it.
Well, here, we're gonna skip ahead one video to video 3. Here is Trump's take from that interaction with reporters today about what he thinks would happen if impeachment proceedings were to go forward. Take a look.
You think they're gonna impeach you?
I don't see how they can, because they're possibly allowed, although I can't imagine the courts allowing it. I've never gone into it. I never thought that would even be possible to be using that word. To me, it's a dirty word, the word impeach. It's a dirty, filthy, disgusting word. And it had nothing to do with me. So I don't think so, because there was no crime. You know, it's high crimes and, not with or. It's high crimes and misdemeanors. There was no high crime and there was no misdemeanor. So how do you impeach based on that?
The crime is how high he makes me feel when I'm listening to him.
Yeah, so wait, okay, we gotta break this down too. Before we get to the more important part about what he thinks about impeachment, it's high crimes and misdemeanors.
Not with.
Not with, not or.
I commit all my high crimes with a misdemeanor, just to spice it up.
On the side, just put it on the side.
Yeah, just a side of misdemeanor. If you just do a high crime, I mean, it's just so bland.
Is he trying to say that if I did a high crime, but I didn't do a misdemeanor like jaywalking, that you can't impeach me?
Yes.
Well, the court
they can define it however they want. I just don't know when to engage with like what he's actually trying to say versus like, here's how all the little stupid ways that you're so stupid. But like they can define it however they want. That's why it's the words high crimes and misdemeanors, is so that the legislative body can say, yeah, that was messed up beyond a certain point, and we got to pull you out. Or at least start
there's. I don't want to get back into the constitutional origins of the phrase high crimes and misdemeanors, which very quick summary of is it doesn't actually have to be a legal crime or a felony. It even says misdemeanor in there. But if you actually do have an actual crime and a felony, then it's a no-brainer. Then it's not even close to a question. And in this case, we have 2 felonies for the price of 1, both the campaign finance violations and now obviously the obstruction of justice that Mueller reported 11 different instances of. But see, that goes to the point of the core of this issue, right? So Nancy Pelosi makes 2 arguments. One is that politically it would be bad for the Democrats to impeach Donald Trump. Now that's madness in 1,000 different ways. So she says, oh, it would animate his base. His base is perfectly animated. They don't need any more animation. You know who needs to be animated? Your base.
Yeah.
But you never once consider that, right?
That's my biggest frustration with the Democrats. They're always focused on what is gonna, fire up Republicans, or we can't do anything too bad to really piss off Republicans. And it's like, they hate you so much already. Just accept it and try to like get your side to like you, which they don't really.
They're sleeping now.
You know,
they got their tax cut. They're sleeping.
Yeah.
Those ones that you meet, Nancy, when you go around California, New York, and DC, they're sleeping.
Yeah, so I want to touch on what Brett said and then get to the money quote from Trump there, because Brett makes a great point. The reason that Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer's of the world have a twisted view of Republicans is because of the Republicans they know. Because the hardest thing in the world is to escape your own perspective. So now every poll shows over 90% of Republicans are solidly with Donald Trump, and they agree with him on all the horrible things that he has said and advocated for, etc. And they're super animated to be like, yes, let's get those babies at the border, snatch them up and put them in cages. Love Trump, right? Now, but the Republicans that Pelosi deals with day to day is donors. So she's on the phone, and that's why they always talk about Republicans in the suburbs.
Yeah.
What do Republicans in the suburbs have? They have money, and they donate. They could choose to donate to Republicans, or they could choose to donate to corporate Democrats. So in her sphere, she's like, oh, have we won over some Republican donors? We won over some Republican donors. We can convince them this is great. But what she doesn't realize, or doesn't care to realize, is that's not a meaningful percentage of Republican voters. So they're not going to swing a national election. That's a preposterous thing to think, but she only thinks that because she's on the phone all day with those same exact donors. And so now to the core of the argument here, Pelosi's second point is, no, Donald Trump actually wants to be impeached, and I'm not going to do him the favor of impeaching him. She has literally said that.
That's like the child reverse psychology type thing. Like
he also doesn't want to be thrown in the briar patch.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I got news for you. Look, Pelosi's saying that for her own purposes. She raised a lot of money being against Donald Trump, and she's politically has no courage whatsoever. Will always just toe the line for the donors. Has never tried anything courageous politically in her life. And mainstream media, you can cry about that, because when I talk about it either here or on social media, the main people who attack me are not Democrats. They're people in the mainstream media. They're like, how could you, our beloved Nancy Pelosi, how could you say that about her? Do you know that she got Romney Care passed with a super majority? She's unbelievable as a legislator. Okay, so I don't want to get back into that. But here, when she says that Trump wants to be impeached, and Trump says it's a dirty, disgusting word, I can't even imagine it. You think it's a trick? He's so dumb. He can't think one step. He can barely walk. He can barely put one foot in front of the other. He's never shown any ability to strategize in his life. No, when he says the thought of impeachment is disgusting and unbelievable to him, he means it. He means it. So, but the media, Pelosi said it, it must be true. Well, Trump was looking forward to impeachment. Are you kidding me? How could you really think that? This man, if you impeach him, his orange head would explode.
That statement that she made is his motivation, because is his success. Because all he does is look at people who are not like utterly present at the time and just start poking them in every way possible to try to paralyze them from some kind of decisive action at all. And that's what he did to Nancy Pelosi, and she kind of walked right into it. Now, that's not to say that there aren't different like calculations she could be making in the background, but like the idea that he wants to be impeached is psychotic. He doesn't. He definitely doesn't, just for the simple fact that like, look at how much he's pushing back against getting his financial records released. He doesn't want anyone to find anything out anymore.
Yeah, so if he was doing it, that's another great point by Brent. Think about it, okay? What does he not want most of all? His tax returns released. Everybody knows that. I think 100% of reporters would acknowledge that, right? Does he go around saying, please release my tax returns?
Yeah.
Please release them. No. Has he ever done reverse psychology on any of those issues? No. He's plain as can be. He's like, don't release my tax returns. Right? I don't want anything, don't look into my businesses. Whatever you do, don't look into my businesses, right? Where's the reverse psychology? There's no reverse psychology. So when he says, don't impeach me, it's disgusting, it's the worst thing I've ever heard. He means it. Occam's razor, the simple answer. Instead, people are like, oh, Pelosi, the master legislator, said that, and it could be the cup in front of you. No, no. So Rashida Tlaib had it right from day one. Impeach him. And Robert Mueller did that press conference to say, I cannot indict him. There are 11 charges here. The people who can indict him is Congress. I'm not gonna say anything more. What else do you need me to say? How dense are you? And Pelosi's like, just dense enough.
Incidentally, you should go check out Elizabeth Warren went on The View today and essentially said what you said. It's just like, I listened to the Mueller report, I read the Mueller report. There's a lot in there. The only thing I can do is impeach, so she's on that side. We have to take a break though.
Yeah, okay, can I just say, so Tommy Christopher, I just noticed, tweeted from Mediaite that Bernie Sanders now in favor of impeachment after I pressured him. I wish I was that powerful. Wouldn't that be awesome?
Bernie watches every day. He watches the Young Turks every day.
Sure, okay, Joe Biden, be in favor of Medicare for all. Okay.
Joe Biden, drop out of the race.
Or that, right. Okay, when we come back, a little bit more on this, and then the unreal insanity of Donald Trump wanting to hide an aircraft carrier. Maybe we should have made it like the F-35. All right, we'll talk about it when we come back. We hope you're enjoying this free clip from the Young Turks. If you want to get the whole show and more exclusive content while supporting independent media, become a member at TYT.com/join today. In the meantime, enjoy this free segment. All right, back on the Young Turks. Let me give you a couple comments first, and then get to wonderful, important announcements. Gabby Marita, as usual, writes in with a great comment here. As with everything Trump does, it's just pure projection. He knows deep down that he's an illegitimate president, and he's terrified of being exposed. That last part describes Trump's entire existence. Terrified of being exposed.
I'm terrified if he ever exposed himself.
Well, that's true. We'd all be terrified by that. Anyway, Leah Soria says, Brett's laugh is so funny.
Really?
Also, it's my 29th birthday today.
I think it's cute, your laugh.
Thank you.
Okay.
I think you're cute.
Thanks.
Well, and happy birthday, okay?
Happy birthday.
Oh God, what I would give to be 29 again.
I know, geez.
Oh God, that's so, enjoy it, savor it.
Oh, the greatest years.
Yes. Denise says, I would really love to see Trump on that show. Are you smarter than a fifth grader? Mostly because it would prove to his base that he's not. I'm not sure that anything would prove that to his base. They'd be like, oh yeah, well those fifth graders are geniuses. They're all Albert Einsteins, I know it. Okay, and I can't believe Trump barely lost to them. He's so good for only barely. He would have beaten the fourth graders. I know that for sure.
They were fed the questions.
Right. Oh, and then totally, yeah. Fake fifth
Brazil
graders.
gave him the questions.
Fake show. Don't believe it.
System. It's him versus his own education department.
All right. So Jordan Klepper's on in the second hour and in the third hour for an interview today. Tomorrow in the third hour, John Delaney, presidential candidate. He was the first presidential candidate, and he will be on the program. So check that out. That's going to be at 8 o'clock Eastern tomorrow at tyt.com. Okay. So now let me give you an update on the rallies. So we've been telling you about this rally we're doing in Iowa on June 8th, tyt.com/rally to join us. Oh no, TYT Army. Okay, this is gonna come back into the conversation in a second. But first of all, very importantly, you guys have been asking where's it gonna be? So we finally have the location for you guys. It is gonna be in Franklin Junior High, and a lot of folks use this. Buttigieg used it for a campaign event as well. I'm not saying anything, I'm just saying. So you'll find that information at tyt.com/rally, so don't worry, you don't have to remember that right now. It is tentatively set for 3 p.m., so we reserve the right to move it depending on some of the circumstances because there's a lot of campaigns going on in the middle of Iowa. And so there is some small chance we might be able to move it. But like I said, it's mainly, we're fairly sure that it's gonna be in the afternoon. And I want you to come, look, the doors open at 2 o'clock in our current plan because we're gonna do a fun game for everybody that's there before the speeches. Then we've got JD Scholten, then we've got Ojeda, we've got Allison Hartson, and then I'm gonna give maybe the fieriest speech of my life. So buckle up. And everyone affected, brace for impact. I'm coming to Iowa, and we're gonna try to make an impact there. Now, more fun things. If you're a member, we're gonna give you a free pin there, so that's gonna be great. We're just trying to do more for you guys, and we want you to wear this shirt if you can. Okay, it's shoptyt.com. If you can't, nothing wrong with that at all. If you got any kind of TYT swag, there's a Pride event going on that weekend. If you want to wear that, that's great. If you don't have any TYT, that's all right. It's no big deal at all. I love that you're coming. If you can put on a black t-shirt, great. And mainly because we want everybody to know who we are and it separates us from the crowd, because here's a super important second part of the announcement. Because of all the different campaign things that we get added to the calendar late, we now know there's another event that we are going to do in Cedar Rapids, Iowa the next day. Now, this is tough, but this is part of organizing, and this is what we want the TYT Army for. Okay, so the next day it's at 2 o'clock. So it's about a 2-hour drive from Des Moines to Cedar Rapids. I'm perfectly aware that it's late notice, but we got late notice of the event, so it's not like we held anything back from you guys. And if you can't make it and you could only make it to Des Moines on Saturday, we love you. Don't sweat it for a second, okay? I need you to be there on Saturday. If you could also stay with us and go to Cedar Rapids on Sunday, amazing, amazing and wonderful. We're gonna try to change the dynamic of this presidential race, and we're gonna try to do even more than that. So that's a lot of significant things that we are going to try to do together. So please be there, tyt.com/rally. Tell us if you're coming, and we want to see you in Iowa. And the more announcements we have and the more clarity we have, we'll give it to you as soon as we have it. Okay, now let's go on to the rest of the stories.
Okay. Your president, Donald John Trump, went to Japan for Memorial Day, and you may have heard some news about the USS John McCain, a Navy warship that was stationed in Japan at the time, and the great lengths that it was reported that the Navy and the White House went to make sure that the president was not triggered by, God forbid, reading the name John McCain. So according to the Wall Street Journal, they said in a May 15th email to US and Navy and Air Force officials, a US Indo-Pacific command official outlined plans for the president's arrival that he said had resulted from conversations between the White House Military Office and the 7th Fleet of the US Navy. In addition to instructions for the proper landing areas for helicopters and preparations for the USS Wasp, amazing, that's what I call the president, the USS Wasp, also Robert Mueller. Where the president was scheduled to speak, the official issued a third directive. USS John McCain needs to be out of sight, and then follows with this quote, please confirm number 3 will be satisfied. So that happened. Mercedes Schlapp, who is the president's, what is she? The White House Director of Strategic Communications.
Oh, this is gonna be very strategic.
Very strategically said this to Fox News.
Defense was told to keep the USS John McCain out of sight and keep the name USS John McCain on that ship covered in a tarp. But what can you tell us about this, Mercedes?
Look, I mean, it's a fake news story. I mean, the Navy came out and basically said that in no way did they try to hide any of their warships. In this case, this particular warship. And again, the president was not aware that this was even, the story. We all read it in the Wall Street Journal. Again, it's another one of these, let's get anonymous sources, let's push this narrative. And it's just unfortunate. It's just unfortunate.
So you're saying it did not happen?
No, I mean, the president was not aware.
It did not happen. No, the president is not aware.
Okay, so before we get to the substance of the story about how embarrassing it is that our president is insane and a child, let's talk about Schlapp for a second. She said it's a fake news story. The Navy did not try to cover it up. Shockingly, I mean, it wasn't like a very bold follow-up question, but Kilme did follow up. I guess I give him credit for that. And he said, so you're saying it didn't happen? She's like, no. I'm saying the president wasn't aware. No, you just said it didn't happen. You said the Navy didn't do it like 30 seconds ago.
But most recently, closest to now when I am talking, I said the president didn't know. Get out of jail free card.
They just call anything that is not favorable to Trump fake news. It doesn't have to be. And they know it's a Fox News audience. They're a bunch of idiots. I'll just lie and then I'll tell them I lied and they won't even notice.
Yeah. So here's what Trump said right after that. Take a listen.
What happened? I wasn't involved. I would not have done that. I was very angry with John McCain because he killed healthcare. I was not a big fan of John McCain in any way, shape, or form. I think John McCain had a lot to getting President Bush, a lot to do with it, to go into the Middle East, which was a catastrophe. To me, John McCain, I wasn't a fan. But I would never do a thing like that. Now, somebody did it because they thought I didn't like him, okay? And they were well-meaning.
I kind of believe him.
I believe it too. But just take a minute and absorb what's happening.
It's amazing. I mean, how many jokes can you make about safe spaces and trigger warnings and all that stuff about, that really the real snowflakes are conservatives. This is like happens time and time and time again. It's amazing.
The other day, Hegseth on Fox and Friends said, this president is incredible. He has the thickest skin I've ever seen.
Yeah.
No, it's the exact opposite. And everybody, I think even the MAGA guys, he's incredibly thin skinned. I mean, you can't, I think that's a level of denying reality that I'm not sure even the MAGA guys can get to, right? So, but first of all, let's just again go back to Schlapp for 1 second. It didn't happen. By the way, it did happen. And then Trump comes out and says, oh, it did happen, but it was a well-meaning person who did it and it wasn't me. And also classic Trump, it wasn't me, I'll throw whoever it was under the bus, right? But then I'll turn around and say, look, I wouldn't do that, but it's a good thing he did it, it was well-meaning, right?
And what a nice thing to do for me. Like that is what it was so generous of them. So what have you done? And it's just so bad, like is it that the Navy has this kind of like, Stockholm syndrome with the president? Or are they just like, listen, we know what a child our commander-in-chief is, so we're just gonna take every precaution not to trigger him. But then again, I was an assistant at a talent agency, which is like, about the people who have those things in their writers where they're just like, I don't want the purple Skittles. Take all the purple Skittles out. That's what it sounds like the president has done to our Navy, has turned them into the abused assistant who's running around with their hair on fire, pulling out the purple Skittles.
Well, honestly, not the worst thing in the world. I mean, that's the thing about it is that this story is maybe one of the funniest stories I can remember. But like, I do get like annoyed when like some of the reactions like, how dare you, sir, disrespect our Navy like that?
Oh, that's interesting.
You know what I mean? Like I don't like it when liberals sort of adopt like this kind of like like over patriotic, like jingoistic mentality that like our Navy is like somehow sacred, when our Navy and like the fleets and the aircraft carriers are like just a huge symbol of American imperialism, right, around the world. I would say that like, we should laugh as much as possible at this story, but like, coming to the brave defense of our Navy is not something that I would want to do.
Yeah, so let me break it down a little bit. So first off, I just want to clarify. To be fair to the Navy on a couple of fronts, it was the White House military office that asked the Navy to take this action. So they're actually the ones that asking to remove the purple Skittles, okay? Yeah. And because they work with the president, so they know, my God, I mean, this guy get triggered by anything,
yeah,
right?
It's amazing.
So, and of course the Navy's intent is to protect us. Unfortunately, it has been misused by politicians to be part of our offensive flotilla to provoke wars. For example, we just sent a giant ship to the Middle East to try to provoke Iran, but that's not the Navy's fault. They're following orders. I know that doesn't sound great, okay? But it is the politicians making those decisions. Ironically, Trump said something very right there, where he said McCain got Bush into those disastrous wars in the Middle East. That's true, but now you're letting Bolton get you into a disastrous war in Iran. So there's a lot of irony there. But the bottom line is, to get back to the core of this issue, we have a president so emotionally unstable as well as mentally unstable that everyone working around him knows you have to go to extraordinary lengths to make sure that he's not triggered. And I don't mean it in like the internet way and stuff. I mean it quite, like literally, like his emotions will get triggered and he'll do something rash, and he'll do something wrong, and he's in a different country. So just seeing the name John McCain, by the way, the ship was originally named after John McCain's grandfather and father, but of course Trump doesn't know anything, so he probably wouldn't know that. Later, they also attached the senator's name to it. It's all the same name, obviously, but they honored him with it as well. But Trump doesn't know any of that. Just the sight of seeing John McCain's name, White House officials believe, and probably correctly so, might put Trump in such a bad mood because he's such a child and so unstable that he might do something terrible abroad. Wow!
It makes you wonder what else, like this story came out, what makes you wonder what else like hasn't come out? Like what else do they have to like run around? Like he's got that toilet paper that isn't like, and like we gotta change it, like
switch it around because he doesn't like a pull up. He doesn't pull up. He likes to pull down. Pull down. Pull up. Pull down.
What else is there?
No, but think about what Nando's saying. It's true. Like if I saw, I can't stand Sean Hannity. If I saw a Sean Hannity mug, I wouldn't care at all. Who cares? What difference does it make, right? But like Trump is so unstable that he's like, right? And he's the president. He's got his finger on the nuke. Look. They got to do the 25th Amendment. Jim Acosta in his new book says a senior White House official said to him, "The president is insane." That's a direct quote. That's a direct quote. So a former senior national security official also told Acosta, "Oh no, we were deeply worried that he was compromised by Russia." So, but you don't have to get into Russia. The bottom line is, everyone, including everyone that works at the White House, knows that the president is so mentally unstable that any tiny little thing will trigger him into doing something potentially disastrous for the country. You know what there is in the Constitution for that? Something called the 25th Amendment, and that's why it's in there. If the president cannot serve in a not a rational way, but he just is mentally unfit to serve office, the cabinet is supposed to get together and go, look, he's our president, he's in our party, he appointed us, but this guy is a lunatic, or this guy got hurt, or whatever it is.
It's just like, I wonder if the slogan, one of the slogans is just like, for the 2020 election is like, come on guys. It's like, come on.
Yeah, whoever it is, right?
This is our president, come on.
I like
you got
that.
Everyone, you got your tax cuts that you wanted, come on, let's go back to normalcy. You know you hate the guy, come on.
Let's just pick a name out of a hat. Elizabeth Warren. Come on, guys.
All right, we got to move on actually to freedom molecules. Ooh. This is an amazing story that I just couldn't get enough of. It's not natural gas. It is not called natural gas anymore. It is now called freedom gas. That is apparently, according to a release from the Department of Energy, and in the wake of an event in Canada where they were touting the new export levels that are available through their new initiative. Increasing export capacity, says Mark Menezes, the Undersecretary of Energy, from the Freeport Liquid Natural Gas Project is critical to spreading freedom gas throughout the world by giving America's allies a diverse and affordable source of clean energy. Further, more exports of US liquid natural gas to the world means more US jobs and more domestic economic growth and cleaner air here at home and around the globe. So release more freedom gas.
Look, we're all gonna say it's Orwellian, that's super obvious. But they've become a parody of themselves. I mean, if I was writing an Onion article, I would call it freedom gas. Yeah. In fact, I'd really pat myself on the back. I'd go around to everybody. Imagine if they called it freedom gas. They're like, oh, that's a good one, Cenk, good one, right? I mean, how I wonder, and I'm gonna ask this very legitimately to you guys. Do you think they wrote it with a straight face, or were they like, oh, look at freedom gas?
I'm just glad that they are honoring the long and rich tradition on the American right of rebranding things freedom blank. There was the French fries that got turned into freedom fries back during the Iraq War years. This goes back a long way, and it just shows that they know their history and they're honoring it very sort of aptly.
Yeah, and of course, famously, torture became enhanced interrogation, and the list goes on.
That's their thing. It's just like, oh, this is it. And it's so uncreative. It is so plug and chug, let's move on. But it's not just one person from the Department of Energy.
Is Rick Perry still the head of the, I don't even remember.
Yeah, he is. He is
right?
The head of the Department of Energy.
Very quiet, right?
Yeah, that's right. No, he figured out. He's like, look, these guys are getting called in front of Congress. They say something good about Trump. They say something bad about Trump. You get in trouble either way. I got an idea. I won't say anything.
Yeah. And it's not just one. Steve Winberg, who's the Assistant Secretary for Fossil Energy, says, I am pleased that the Department of Energy is doing what it can to promote an efficient regulatory system that allows for molecules of US freedom to be exported to the world. So it's not just freedom gas, it is composed of freedom molecules.
That's the plot of the next Avengers movie, is someone got a hold of the freedom gas and that only exists in America, and they were sprinkling it all over the other places. They're getting more freedom, they're taking away our freedom. There's a limited supply of our freedom gas. It's very nefarious.
The idea here, yes, there's the ridiculousness of calling it freedom gas that you hope they hear themselves say, or are they just huffing too much freedom gas? We don't know. But the thing that they're trying to communicate here is that in the world where we hear about this dependence on foreign oil and foreign energy, and they want to bring that back to here, which results in tons of fracking, which results in earthquakes in Oklahoma, and I would say it's not maybe we're not as dependent on foreign oil, but even though we're not as dependent on foreign oil, we're still cozying up to the Saudis. We're still, turning against dictators who incidentally have tons of foreign oil. And then in addition to that, it's just very frustrating to watch the president just kind of, and the Department of Energy just kind of say that we'd be free if we back people who are dealing with natural gas, but really we would be freer if we didn't have to depend on fossil fuels at all. If we could invest in renewable energy so we're not killing ourselves. We're just getting rid of the foreign oil people and replacing them with domestic oil people.
So I was gonna wonder if anybody still believes this stuff, but I know the answer to that. Because the media goes along with it, I bet you a lot of people believe it. So because the US talks in propaganda all the time. So George H.W. Bush, when he launched the first Persian Gulf War, said the liberation of Kuwait has begun. And then there was, George W. Bush kept on talking about the liberation of Iraq. Judah Friedlander, is a great comedian, was on this show, and he said, for all those countries who don't have a lot of oil under their ground, I feel really bad for them because they're not gonna get to be liberated by us, right? Sure. And so it's all in terms of like, no, we're not invading you, we're not bombing you, we're giving you freedom. And part of that will be, we'll take your freedom gas and make it free to us, okay? But good news for you, we're gonna give you our freedom gas, but not free to you. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And so I feel like if slavery was still around, they'd call them like freedom shackles, right? Because they have no bounds of decency and they have no sense of shame in these absurd things that they come up with.
That take you make a joke, but that take was made not long ago by someone on the right, where it said like we brought the slaves over here and we gave them all kinds of
Bill O'Reilly. You're right. I forgot about that. They said we gave them room and board.
Yeah, exactly. You cannot make up a point that is too ridiculous.
Yeah. Like
on the right, like they've made that exact point.
That's right.
The experience for children who've been separated from their families was like summer camp.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right. Laura Ingraham said that. That's right. Sorry, Freedom Camp.
Freedom Camp. Oh, I love Freedom Camp.
That's right. When we put the kids in the cages, that was actually Freedom Camp.
Yep. We have to take a break.
Okay. Yes, we do. All right. When we come back, more freedom for you guys.